Let's start off with this Nvidia news. Bit of a surprise, this new Rubin platform. What was your take on it, and how do you see it impacting the chip market and the AI trade?
I think that we're going to continue to see innovation from Nvidia. That's not what keeps me up at night about this company. My question mark is, are they going to be able to keep that margin that they've had, right? They've had these massive, massive margins. And the reality is you see news like coming out of AMD saying, hey, we're going to build, something pretty similar that's directly competitive and coming out in the not too far future. So yes, Nvidia continues to innovate, and that is great. They are very, very good at that. The problem is their competitors are catching up fast.
All right, so you think their competitors are catching up fast. I don't know if you were watching, but we had a guest on last week that said Nvidia has like an impenetrable moat. She also gave us a forecast of a $10 trillion market cap by 2030, but that was also dependent on that moat. But you think this new chip from AMD's a real rival?
I had a good laugh over that clip. It was certainly dinner table fodder. The reality is that yes, I mean, we're seeing this both on the Apple side and Meta and Alphabet, some of these companies that are making these chips in-house and are designing them in-house, and they certainly have the know-how to do so, and they have the supply chain. And then you're also seeing it with the AMDs of the world who are designing these chips. And so I just think it's going to be really, really tough for Nvidia to keep that moat, keep that 1,000% margin. And, he talked about CEO math. A lot of CEOs are going to look at the math of that margin and say, maybe I'm going to go somewhere cheaper.
Other investors, they seem to disagree with you, by the way. Nvidia shares up 3% in the pre-market right now, pushing the SMH ETF up about 1.5% as well. But I do want to ask you, does this at all re-raise those concerns about a so-called air pocket, the fact that instead of rolling out new architecture every 2 years, now it's going to be every year?
I think it does. I mean, Jensen's saying, look, you got to buy now to save later, right? You need to be buying now, buying up front. And that's certainly talking his own book. And so we are seeing some of these delays where people say, maybe I will wait to see what comes out of the next chip. And so to some extent, the innovation is almost getting in the way of sales, which has to be an interesting problem internally. But, the market isn't necessarily seeing the same stuff I'm seeing, but we've also seen a huge rise in retail investors on Nvidia and some sort of not pullback, but a slowdown from, Wall Street. And I think that does say that this might be a little bit into fanboy and meme stock territory versus people trading on fundamentals.
Yeah, on a day we're talking about Roaring Kitty jumping back in the market. Also have to keep in mind, Nvidia is doing a stock split, so that could raise the retail investor influence on the company. Also want to talk to you about something else. Also speaking at Computex this year is Qualcomm CEO, our John Fort, caught up with Cristiano Amon.
I'm very optimistic. The reason I'm optimistic is because you see now a change that happens from the PC to the Copilot Plus PC, and you see Microsoft trying to drive that change. And I'm hopeful that everything that is happening with the Copilot Plus, with the Microsoft Copilot, is going to drive an upgrade cycle on a large SAM for laptops. We come in with a solution that we design across multiple price points. It's all new for Qualcomm. It's all new for Qualcomm. We don't need any heroic market share assumptions to be able to be a player and have a significant financial contribution.
All right, Sarah, a lot to digest there, but I want to get your quick take.
I like that subtle dig. We don't need any heroic projections. The reality is, though, that the Qualcomms of the world, the Intels, all of these names that were most relevant in tech last when we were probably in short pants are becoming relevant again, and they've stayed relevant because they have been doing this for a long time. They have the supply chains, they have the trust of a lot of big enterprise, and so I think that you can't count them out. Even Nvidia, these are not new companies, and I'm not surprised to see them come out with these big claims now that everybody suddenly and finally cares about chips and semiconductors after decades of them being sort of the most boring, least sexy part of the tech industry.